Hello, Internet friend. Today on Value Side, why it's time to watch your banker like a hawk. I'm David Ravel. Well, a growing number of analysts on Wall Street are calling for a slowing economy, perhaps not an outright recession, but enough of a slowdown to cause headaches for the bankers. With as much debt as we have in the financial system, read loans from banks, even a tiny increase in slow payments or defaults can mean big trouble for the banks. Now, the past 5 years have been a loan paradise. With all the money printing and outright gifts like stimulus checks to individuals and corporations, the banks recorded an all-time low in bank defaults. Many borrowers used those additional funds to pay down their loans, resulting in a loan default rate for consumer loans of a mere 1.5%. That's nirvana for the banks. Predictably, banks, credit card companies, credit unions, mortgage companies, and other lending institutions aggressively promoted new loans. I don't know about you, but at the peak last year, I was getting multiple credit card invitations in the mail every day, something I hadn't seen in years. The lenders were on a roll. After all, loans are a bank's most profitable asset, and with hardly any defaults, it seemed like easy money. However, by Q3 2023, all that began to change. That quarter we saw loan defaults start to exceed the old baseline default rate of 2.5%. Well, that might not seem a lot to you, to me. To the bankers, their pain was beginning to increase. Those loans would have to be written off, and the CEO would have to tell shareholders that the bank's number one credit expense was rising. A good proxy for how banks are doing across the country is seen in the country's largest bank, JP Chase. In Chase's latest earnings report, Q3 of 2024, the bank just set aside $3.1 billion in loan loss reserves, nearly double the $1.8 billion in reserves set aside in Q3 of 2023, the year before. For Chase, loan losses are rapidly becoming a significant issue for upper management. This increase in bad bank loans will impact you and me in the months ahead. Many years ago, I advised clients not to be very worried about their lending institutions, banks, savings and loans that carried their mortgages, credit cards, and other lines of credit. But that is no longer the case. Back in the day, banks and others were slow to change the terms of their loan. Today, loan contracts are written to provide instant adjustments, almost always in the bank's favor. A simple email sent out this week can often completely modify the terms of your loan next week. Annual percentage rates can be changed instantly, fees modified, and even payoffs can be required in certain circumstances. As discussed in a prior article, attractive low introductory rates can see dramatic boosts when the special introductory period is over. Zero interest can become as high as 35%. That's the highest I've seen, when the grace period ends in 6 months or a year. Store cards, affinity cards, and specialty cards are especially prone to this kind of interest rate manipulation. As credit card defaults rise, and we're now at 2.75%, up from that 2.5% base, the incentive for lenders to apply higher rates and fees also increases. For the financial institutions, it's a simple matter. Send out an email and start collecting extra bank income to offset those loan loss reserves. I remember attending an American Bankers Association conference where the speaker after speaker extolled the virtues of fee income for the member banks to make up for loan losses. Today, bank fee income is on autopilot. Hit a specific parameter, and you instantly find your credit card or other loan payment increasing. So what's the answer? As consumers, we must become as diligent as the bank in monitoring their loan documentation and notices. Now, no one likes to do this, but you need to pay attention to each change email that the bank sends you. Also, monitor each monthly statement and look for extraordinary charges. Things may have changed since last month's statement, so beware. Finally, find out what your alternatives are. Is there a competing credit card or loan company that may be less expensive or more generous in their terms? Websites like bankrate.com or nerdwallet.com do a fine job of evaluating credit alternatives and the health of your bank or lending institutions. Credit services like Experian.com will help you find the right card given your personal credit score. And don't be afraid to switch. If your lender is not meeting your expectations or its charges are out of line, make the change. But do some legwork first. First, survey the alternatives. Go to their websites, find out what meets your requirements, then pre-qualify and find out if the new lender accepts balance transfers. If they do, consider moving. Although it's a pain, all your recurring monthly payments will have to reflect a new card, but it's worth it if you can save a substantial amount. If you do make that move, know that you won't be alone. The banks and lenders are already preparing for a more difficult economy. Remember that nearly doubling in JP Morgan's loan loss reserves? It will result in higher fees from that bank and most other banks, fees that will be passed directly on to you. By managing your loans now, while alternatives and more attractive lenders are still available, you may save a lot of money in the future. Remember, managing your loan portfolio is as important as managing your investment portfolio. Well, if you enjoyed this article, please consider buying me a cup of coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/David Revell. That's REAVILL. buymeacoffee.com/David Revell. Thanks for listening.